episode 16. I'm your host, Darian.
And I'm Mike.
And we're going to be breaking down the 4 Wildcard weekend games this weekend.
We're going to break them down.
Break them down. Yes. All right. So I would just first like to thank all of the teams that made this possible for a not crappy wildcard weekend, because I think every single game, can be won by either team in every game. And I honestly believe that. And also, all these teams are at some level of interesting to watch. And I think they're all going to be really good games. And I also think where they're all being played is interesting too, because the teams that I would normally maybe pick, they're not at home. So that's sort of interesting to me. So
well, another thing too is that the worst team record-wise is like his team. I ain't trying to play if I'm in the playoffs.
The defending Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah,
I agree.
Do you know that of any quarterback ever in the playoffs with over 100 pass attempts, he has the best passer rating?
Did you know that his nickname right now is BND or BDN? BDN.
Yeah.
Big Dick Nick.
Yep.
Yeah, so they're going overboard in Philadelphia. But he's balling in December and January, I should say, of last year and this year. Like,
yeah.
What do they do?
I didn't know that. His passer rating is 113. That's the best ever by any quarterback ever with over 100 pass attempts.
Yeah, it's absurd. Dude, what do they, real quick, before we start talking about the games, just because I want to know what you think, what do they do if they run the table and they win the Super Bowl again? What do they do with Carson Wentz? What do you do at that point?
You got to keep Carson Wentz, though.
I know, but Nick Foles is, like, really good, and he's only, like, 30.
Yeah, I know, and he's dude,
he's 29,
you know what his bonuses are? Like, if they make and win the Super, he gets $500,000 for every game. Okay, so he gets $500,000 just for making the playoffs.
Right.
For starting the game. If they win that game, he gets another $500,000.
I'm talking about Nick Foles, right? Talking about Nick Foles.
Yeah. So then next week, if they play next week, that's $500,000, or that's the $500,000 that he gets for winning. So that's $500,000 to make it to the next one. If he wins that game, I think it's $500,000. And then if he goes to if they win the NFC Championship game, no, wait. No. So here's how it is. Yeah, because we got plenty of time, because we got to kill some time, fill some time, or whatever. So no, if he makes, okay, so
man.
I know, if he makes it for every postseason game that he takes 33% of the snaps, he gets $500,000.
Yeah.
Okay, so if he takes a third of the snaps, he gets $500,000. If they win, he gets another $500,000. So he can make $1 million per playoff game,
which he will probably. And he'll probably win the Super Bowl again. And he'll probably beat the Patriots in the process of it again. And then we will have lost 2 Super Bowls to Eli Manning and 2 to Nick Foles again.
NFC East, rise up. So, the dude can make more money. So anyway, so back to your question. What do you do?
Yeah.
Simple. You say, hey, Carson's our guy. Nick, you going to hang around for another year for X amount of money? And if you get to play, and if he's sitting there going, I get to sit here and hang out and do nothing, and then show up in December.
Light everybody up.
Show up in December when Wentz gets hurt again.
Oh my God, dude!
Just cash in.
It's insane that he's doing this. Like, it's just so weird. I don't know.
The only reason they can do it is because Wentz is on a rookie contract. That's it.
Right. Once they have to pay Wentz, they can't. Probably won't be able to afford Nick Foles, and B, won't be able to afford other guys on that team too, like Chris Long. Bye bye. Michael Bennett. Bye bye. All these dudes, see ya, and then they're gonna be crap. But yeah,
like his 2018 salary cap hit is 13.6.
Right. Who's
Foles?
Oh yeah.
But it's only $5 million guaranteed. But now he can tack on another $14 million in 2 years. Where between the 2 years of his deal.
Right.
So
I don't know, man. It's gonna be interesting.
He's under contract through 2021, but I believe he can void the contract. I think he can void it after this year.
Right.
But then he's got to pay back any guaranteed money that he got, which he only got $5 million fully guaranteed. So he didn't get a whole lot. And I mean, he can win back wild card, divisional, and championship, Super Bowl. He can win all that money he'd have to pay back. He can win that shit back and stuff back in this playoff year if they win the Super Bowl.
Right. Exactly. No. Yeah. He absolutely could. And also, I think it's funny because I've heard him talk lately these past couple weeks, and he doesn't seem like he actually cares whether or not he's like the starter and the guy. He's like, I'm cool with just chilling, and if they need me, I'll just play. And if they don't, then I'll just chill. Like, he's literally, like, fine with whatever happens. So, like, I don't think he'll void his contract, because I don't think he's like, hey, I could just go get a big money deal and go get my ass whooped, like, playing for the Bucks or something. Like, I don't think anyone wants to do that.
Yeah, but didn't he do that? Didn't he go somewhere?
He went to, where did he go? Kansas City? Oh, no, the Rams. The Rams.
Oh.
And then he got his ass
the Eagles, the Rams, then he was back up at the Chiefs and back up at the Eagles.
Yep. Yeah, it was the Rams where he actually played once, because he had that good year with Chip Kelly in Philly, right?
Right.
And then he went to the Rams, and it was the Jeff Fisher era there still, so it was obviously no hope. And then it just didn't go well. But they didn't have any talent on that team. Like, their best player was Tavon Austin, and he's not very good, in my opinion.
Nah.
So, like, I'd rather have Cordell Patterson than Tavon Austin, so...
Yeah.
So, all right. So let's start the games a little bit here. We can weave in and out of topic and you're not gonna laugh. You're gonna be like, what? When you hear who I pick for all these games. Oh man. I don't know. Well, it's gonna be interesting. But that's the thing. I genuinely think all 8 of the teams playing this weekend can win these games. I really do think that. Like, there's not one game where I think it's completely unbalanced for either or. So I'm very interested, and I can't wait. I just hope the games play up to that. I hope there's not 4 blowouts. I hope there's no blowouts, but I think there's going to be one, and I think it's going to be this first game that we're going to talk about, which has the potential to be a blowout. I don't know for sure if it will be, but I could see it, and I could see it either way being a blowout. Like, Houston might blow out Indianapolis or vice versa. But the first game we've got is the 4:35 Eastern Saturday game. The Indianapolis Colts travel to Houston to face Deshaun Watson and the Texans. Colts are 10-6, Texans 11-5. Divisional rivals too, so that's a little wrinkle to this. Do we know? I'm trying to think. Do you know off the top of your head what their record was against each other this year? I'm trying to look.
Yeah, they split.
Did they split? Okay. Do we know what was did they win each of their home games, or was it different?
Well, give me a second.
Oh no.
I will tell you.
So the Colts lost at home to the Texans in overtime. It was a game they actually almost won too. So I remember that game because, and then they beat them. Oh, see, this is interesting. They beat them in Week 14. The Colts beat the Texans in Houston Week 14. They by 3, and they lost by 3 Week 4 at home by 3 in overtime. And it was a game where, if I remember correctly, the Colts had it was like a 4th down or something, and they went for it, and they didn't get it, but it was like a ballsy call type thing by Frank Reich, and they were like, well, we're going to play to win. We're not going to play to lose, because I don't have time for that. So, and I respected them for doing that. That's interesting that Indy's already beat them in Houston, and it was only about a month ago.
Mm-hmm. Not even a month ago.
Yeah.
It was. Oh yeah. Yeah, close enough. Yeah.
It was quote unquote 4 weeks ago, but you know.
Yeah.
What I mean. So, yeah. But that's interesting to me. So, what do you think about this game?
Well, this is what I think about this game. The Colts to me are a little quirky in general. Like, the beginning of the year, they were, they beat the Seahawks. They lost to the Ravens barely. They beat the Bengals barely. They beat the 49ers barely. That's all preseason stuff, right? Then you get to the regular part of the season. Then they lose to the Bengals, right?
Right, which they shouldn't have lost. But then to be fair, Jack Doyle fumbles a ball and it gets returned for a touchdown. They don't lose that game because they were driving to score too. So that was like a really fluky game. I know it says like you're saying. I know it says they lost by 11, but they really should have won by 4. And if their tight end Jack Doyle for the Colts doesn't fumble it on like a huge like 40-yard play, then because that got returned for a touchdown. If that doesn't happen, they probably march down there and score and win too. So it was
if Marshawn, if Phil or Pete Carroll would have given the ball to Marshawn,
I know
Malcolm Butler wouldn't have got an interception.
Hey man.
Coulda, woulda, shoulda. So, anyways, back on topic. So then the Colts beat they beat the Redskins, right? Yep. Then they lose to the Eagles. Mm-hmm. Then they lose to the Texans, like you were saying in Indy. Then they lose to the Patriots. Then they lose to the Jets, right?
Yeah.
Then they go, and so they come back and they're doing stuff and doing their own thing. But like the last 2 months of the season, man, the only game that they've lost was that kind of bizarre 6-0 game in Jacksonville.
Yeah, where Jacksonville's defense is like, all right, we're gonna play championship caliber defense for a Sunday and just
one Sunday all year
and just lock and just shut down the Colts. And it was the first time Andrew Luck's ever been shut down.
Wasn't T.Y. Hilton hurt that week too? T.Y. Hilton.
He may have gotten hurt around that time. I'm not sure if I can't really recall, but
yeah. But since then, they've beat the Texans in Houston.
Yep.
They've crushed the Cowboys.
They beat
the Giants, beat the Titans.
The Dolphins, like you said, the Cowboys, the Giants, they edged out, or they beat Tennessee twice, like you said. Yeah, I mean, and I saw this stat. I wish I could remember who said it on Twitter because I'd like to give people credit when they post a stat like this, but I can't. I just can't remember. It was a couple days ago. Andrew Luck has been sacked per game. I think it was like 1.14 times per game this year, which is obviously about once a game, which is the lowest of his career, and it was the lowest in the NFL this year. Like, they finally have an offensive line, and that was the big knock in the Ryan Grigson era of the Andrew Luck Colts was they had never had any offensive line. Now that he does, they're kicking everyone's ass, and they have an all-pro on that offensive line too. Is rookie Quentin Nelson, which is awesome. So like, it's a complete turnaround. Like, Chris Ballard deserves Executive of the Year, probably, in my opinion. Like, I'm not. That's not like an original thought by me or anything. By the way, like, I've heard people say it, and once I realize what he actually has done with this team this year, I have to say I think I agree. I mean, maybe there's a couple of the guys out there, obviously, that depend on it. It's not a clear runaway, but man, they've really flipped the script, and all it took. Like, you could say all it took was Andrew Luck being healthy, but I mean, they had to keep him healthy, and they never been able to before. But they were, and what did they do? They started off 1-6 or whatever, or 1-5 or something like that, and then they won 9 out of 10 or something crazy, or whatever the number was. But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. Like, the Colts, they were impressive this year. They really were, I think. And obviously Houston went on like a 9-0 run in the middle of the season. They won like 9 games in a row. Their offensive line's
their problem. Not always, but generally speaking, this game is won at the line of scrimmage, right?
Right.
If you can stop the run, if you can rush the quarterback, if you can keep the quarterback clean, if you can run the ball, et cetera, all those things set everything else up, right? If you can't run or stop the run, if you can't get after the quarterback, cover, whatever. So it's line of scrimmage this whole thing is based on. It is absolutely mind-boggling to me that Houston ranks as the most sacks per game. They're averaging getting Deshaun Watson sacked 3.9 times a game. That's 4 sacks a game.
Yeah.
That's insane.
It's not a good offensive line, man. And they started to play better in the middle of the year when they went on a little run for like 9 games. But it's like I'm just saying, from when I saw up close week 1 for Houston, when New England sacked him like 7 or 8 times, and I was like, wait a minute. We've never hit a quarterback as long as I've been a fan of the Patriots. Not really, but that's exaggeration. But we just don't hit quarterbacks. That's not our thing. We have terrible pass rush. We always have, at least for the last like 10 years or so. What the hell is going on? And then everyone's like, yeah, their offensive line is actually like very, very bad. And like, obviously, like, they played well enough to win 9 games in a row this year and make the playoffs, but that offensive line's trash, man. It really is. Like, it's not good. And for the record, let's break down real quick. I'd like to. I was curious. I'm looking at the Texans schedule. This is just a quick rundown of the 9-game win streak. Okay, so as we talked about, it starts in week 4 in Indy in overtime, a game that they perhaps should have lost. Maybe it's debatable, but they won. And then in overtime the week after that too, they beat Dallas when Dallas hadn't really hit their groove yet because that was only week 5. They beat Buffalo. They beat Jacksonville in Jacksonville. Then they destroyed Miami. And they beat Denver in Denver. They edged them out. Then they had their bye week 10. Then they edged out Washington week 11. They pretty much waxed Tennessee on Monday Night Football. They beat the Browns pretty well. That was a bad Baker game. He didn't play that well.
That was the one bad game he's had.
Yeah, for sure. And it was pretty bad, but it was. And then they got waxed by the Colts in week 14, and then they beat the Jets, and then they lost to the Eagles, and then they beat the Jaguars to end the year. But they
didn't, that whole stretch, they didn't play anybody any good. If you go to the beginning of the year when they played, because the Titans game, when they played the Titans, that was without Mariota.
Yeah, and they lost.
So no, they beat the Titans without Mariota, but they lost to the Titans with Mariota.
Oh, so Mariota played week 2?
Yeah.
Okay.
So they lost to the Patriots. They lost to the Titans with Mariota. They lost to the Giants. Yep. And only 4 other teams can say that.
Yeah.
And the rest of them are crappy team, except the Cowboys. But like you were saying, that's week 5, and they barely beat them in overtime. But all the rest of the teams they beat, they all suck. Not a single playoff team to be found in there.
I agree completely. And well, I mean, I have to agree. It's literally a fact what you said, and that's the thing, and that's, you know what I mean. And then
I do.
Yeah. I'm like, I have to agree, it's a fact. But yeah, week 5, the Cowboys, and I kind of vaguely remember that game that ended in overtime, but they edged them out by 3. It was 19-16. But like, yeah, the Cowboys had not hit their stride yet, and I'm not even sure they had Amari Cooper yet then, and I don't think they did.
They did not. No.
Yeah, and that was kind of when the Cowboys season sort of changed. That along with Leighton Vander Esch kind of coming on as Sean Lee got hurt. So, and I don't remember when that happened, but the Cowboys weren't. They were, no offense, they were kind of a crappy team in week 5 too. They really were. So
yeah, they were 2-3 at that point.
Yeah, they weren't. People were like,
they had lost to the Panthers.
Yeah,
they beat the Giants. They lost to the Seahawks. They barely beat the Lions, and then they barely lose to the Texans, and then they woke up.
Exactly, and so what you could say is during this 9-game stretch for the Houston Texans, where they won 9 in a row, they beat a bunch of teams who honestly were at one point this year frisky.
At the point they played them.
Well, no. I'm just saying at one point at a point in time, all these teams that they beat could have been considered frisky, like in a sense. But the whole thing is, like you said, they didn't beat one playoff team, except to start it, they beat the Colts. That was the beginning of it, but that was in overtime. Oh, and I guess they did beat Dallas, who is a playoff team too. But so they beat.
That was when Dallas was 2-3.
Exactly. So that's what I'm saying. So hindsight's 20/20, because you can say, well, we beat 2 playoff teams. Well, yeah, one of them you should have lost that game in overtime to Indianapolis. I still believe that. And the other one, they weren't a playoff team at the time, meaning Dallas. So
and all the rest of the teams suck.
Yeah, or they did by the time they played them.
Yep.
So
who are you going to pick on this game?
I'm taking the Colts, because how you beat, in my opinion, defense, like how you attack the defense for Houston is the secondary. And as long as what you've done all year in Indianapolis, meaning not let Andrew Luck get hit, as long as that prevails and you keep Clowney and Watt and all those dudes off of Luck, I see no reason why they shouldn't beat him again in Houston. And they've got a decent running game in Indy finally too, which is something they haven't been able to say in the Andrew Luck era either. Like Marlon Mack, Naheem Hines, like these guys are actually pretty decent, And it's by committee, so they're doing it as a whole. They don't have a workhorse back who's like awesome, but it's enough. So I'm taking Indianapolis on the road here.
Yeah, I am too.
Yeah,
I think that they're.
But go ahead. I want. Well, sorry to interrupt you. Let me just say one thing though. All it takes for Houston to win this game truly is for the greatness of who is, and I'm going to say it, and I honestly believe this. I've kind of believed this for a couple years, but like I'm genuinely convinced, the best wide receiver in football to have an out-of-body experience, which for him was kind of like a normal Sunday, or in this case, a Saturday, because he always does this stuff. And they can just beat Indianapolis because he could just score 2 touchdowns and have 200 yards. Like, DeAndre Hopkins is incredible. The dude did not drop a pass this year. That is a stat. He did not have one drop. And he had like 114 catches or something crazy. Can you imagine getting thrown at that many times and never dropping one? I couldn't fathom it. Like, that's insane to me. That's insane. And the dude dominates people. And we just have to give this to him because he hasn't had Matt Ryan or anyone like that his whole career, or Ben Roethlisberger. He's had crap at quarterback. And sometimes he's had Deshaun Watson. But overall, the dude's been doing it with literal nobodies. Like Brian Hoyer and Brock Osweiler and whoever the hell else they had that year when they started 3 guys. They had, like, I'm just saying, man, if the Colts can stop DeAndre Hopkins, they're going to win this game. That's all it's going to take. But if he goes off, and he goes off enough, or at the right time, or if, like, the Texans keep it close and he goes off near the end, that's going to be the way that Houston steals this game. And that's what I think. Now, sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to make sure I got in my point about DeAndre Hopkins because I think he's the best receiver in football, and he's freaking awesome, and I love him watching him play. And he's the X factor in this game because he's the best player on either side of the whole of either team. And if he can change the game enough, but I just don't think he will in this one. I think overall Indy's got enough talent, but man, he could, and we could just be saying, holy hell, they're going to New England next week because DeAndre Hopkins is a god. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
was Doug Baldwin hurt a bunch this year?
Oh yeah, Doug Baldwin was hurt quite a bit this year, and I don't know if he missed a lot of games, but he was definitely playing hurt a lot for sure.
Yeah, I think it said he only played something like 9 games or something.
Yeah, he was.
I'm just going through looking at all the other guys that don't have any drops and see if there's any significant. Baldwin didn't have any. Lockett didn't have any. Cole Beasley didn't have any.
Yeah, but okay, that's fair. But they also didn't have as many catches as he had too.
No, I know. That's why I say. Okay. That's what I'm looking for, to see if there's anybody with a big number.
I got you. And Doug Baldwin, it looks like he missed 3 games. But
Adam Thielen, 78. Oh, but he did have a drop. It didn't even list. Whatever. I'm not going to look at that. Who cares?
But so go back to the Houston Colts, the Houston Texans, the Indianapolis Colts game real quick before we move on. So I interrupted you to rant about DeAndre Hopkins, who is the GOAT. Not really, but you know what I mean. He's freaking awesome. So what were you going to say about the Texans and the Colts?
I'm just thinking to myself that the defense of the Colts isn't terrible. So I'm thinking that if they can keep it within 24, if they can hold the Texans to 24, I think the Colts will be fine. And I think they will. I think they'll do that. I'm picking the Colts.
All right, I agree with you. I'm taking the Colts too. And I would like to say for the record, because I am a Patriot fan, as everyone probably knows who maybe does listen. I would actually rather see Houston win this game because that means that they come up to Foxborough next week. So that's what I want. Although it's hard because part of me wants them to face them, but part of me wants to see Andrew Luck go play Kansas City and see how that goes too, because I think that'd be fun. So it's like a real, I don't know, but I'm rooting for the Colts just from the standpoint of I think they'd be more fun deeper in the playoffs because I think if Houston went to New England next week, they'd get smacked. And I don't want that because that's not fun. Even though it's good for me, it's not fun. So if I'm being objective, I want Indianapolis to win anyway because I think that they might be able to give it to KC also because what they do well, KC doesn't defend well.
KC doesn't defend anything well.
Exactly.
so here, this is crazy because I'm looking at the defensive stats between Indy and Houston.
Yeah.
Indy's given up 1.5 more a game
than Houston. Okay.
Than Houston, but they've given up 4 yards less per game.
So they're really.
I mean, they're like really evenly matched defensively as far as stats are concerned.
Right.
And I don't know. I think that. So, we were talking about games that weren't terribly interesting in the past with the wild card and all that. And I can think back to my Oakland Raiders and Carr breaking his leg, and then the week before the playoffs, McGloin getting cold cocked, and so they ended up starting Connor Cook.
Yeah.
And getting smoked, and that was like nobody wanted to watch that game. And that was the 8-8 Texans with Brock Osweiler.
Yeah.
And they still crushed the Raiders by like 24, 28, or 30 something, some crazy shit. But every single year has been like terrible, terrible, terrible. And you literally, in my honest opinion, with any one of these games, you could flip a coin and have a 50-50 shot at. So you know who Cynthia Freeland is?
Absolutely, NFL Network. And by the way, I said that too, and you remember it.
Yeah.
I honestly think anyone could win this game. But yes, I know who Cynthia Freeland is. Of course, she makes the predictions and stuff on NFL Network.
Yeah, and she's pretty darn accurate.
Yeah.
The biggest game difference she has is Chicago winning by 60%. So the other ones were 50, 52, 53, 55, and 60. Yeah. So that's basically 50-50 for every game.
And I think they all are. All four of them, essentially, I do think are 50-50 games, because all it takes is BDN to come out of his come out against Chicago like, hey, check this out, and Chicago could be in some real trouble at halftime of that game.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt. It's seriously going to come down to stuff like this, right? Darius Leonard.
Yeah.
What's he gonna do? J.J. Watt. What's he gonna do? Right. Right in Seattle. What's he gonna do? What's Van Der Esch and Jalen Smith gonna do?
Right. Is Melvin Gordon gonna look like himself, or is he gonna look banged up?
Melvin Gordon's. I don't even know if Melvin Gordon's playing. Is he gonna play?
I think he's gonna play. He played. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they said he's gonna be okay. But
what about Bosa and Ingram? Right. What are they gonna do?
Right.
In Baltimore, what's Weddle and T Sizzle and all those kind of Philly? What's Foles gonna do? What's Matt gonna do? Well, that's okay. So, anyways, yeah, we're way off. We're way out of here. So, yeah, you got the Colts. I got the Colts.
Yeah.
Right. Because otherwise, I was going to skip right to the Philly Chicago game. We're not trying to do that. We're trying to go in some kind of order here.
Right. Well, by the way, just real quickly, I'd like to just point out, as of yesterday, the Chargers injury report remains the same as Wednesday, and Melvin Gordon was a full participant again, and he's on track to play.
Excellent.
So yeah. But the thing is, obviously he got hurt last week a little bit. He got a little twisted up in the knee area, but he's fine. As fine as someone can be after playing 17 weeks of football or however many he played. But you get my point. My point is, he's okay. But they haven't really had a great rushing attack the last month of the season, the Chargers too. So that'll be interesting. But so we're both taking the Colts. So let's move on to the Saturday night game, because we're both off topic. Oh, and one last thing, by the way, I want to say about the Colts Texans game, and then we really can actually move on. Excuse me. How I ran through the what's it called, the 9-game win streak for the Texans.
Mm-hmm.
Colts didn't really play anybody great all year either, so I do want to point that out. The Colts didn't have a gangbuster schedule either. So both these teams are relatively untested. They really are. So it's just gonna, like you say, it honestly is gonna come down to, what does Darius Leonard do? Does he hit Watson and cause a fumble maybe that changes the game in the second half, or does J.J. Watt strip sack Andrew Luck and get the Colts off rhythm from the get go and things like that? It's really gonna matter every single play what happens in that game, because I don't think either of these teams have really ever been tested this season. And even though they're both pretty good and pretty impressive on both sides of the ball overall, we don't know what they are. It's not like either of them played the Chiefs or anything and got smoked or won or anything. It's not like either of them played the Saints or anyone like that. They both played New England and they both lost to them. But New England I wouldn't even consider that great of a team this year, so I don't consider that a test. So they're largely unproven. Oh, I mean, you know what I mean? So I just think that's an interesting case, because I just looked at the Colts schedule after looking at the Texans, and they really didn't play anybody either. So it's going to be interesting, because they're kind of carbon copies of skill, not where they're skilled. Obviously they don't have as good of a receiver as DeAndre Hopkins and vice versa. They're, you know what I mean? There's some differences, but they're pretty evenly matched, I would say. I genuinely think that game is 50-50. So, all right. So let's actually move on to the Saturday night game, 8:15. Seattle Seahawks at the Dallas Cowboys at Jerry World. What do you think about this game? Are you going to watch this game? It's going to be fun.
I think. Well, I'm going to try to watch all of them if I can, but
Yeah.
I've got a lot of home things going on.
I'll have people over.
The Seahawks are interesting because they beat the Chiefs.
Yeah.
They lost to the 49ers.
Yep. Almost lost to Arizona.
They beat the Cardinals twice by 3 points.
Yep.
They lost to the Rams only by 2.
Yes, they did.
They beat the Cowboys.
Yeah.
They lost to the Donkeys. I mean, it's like which team's gonna show up? You know?
Right.
I don't know. I just think that you take all the experience playoff football is completely different than regular season. Regular season is kind of like I don't remember who it was. I saw something on, like, it wasn't Good Morning Football, but it was something on NFL Network or something somewhere, and maybe it was even on Pro Football Talk, whatever. And they said they were talking to a player, and the player's like, "Yeah, the playoffs are completely different because in a regular season game, you see a guy going to make a tackle, and you're kind of like, he's got him. And in a playoff game." He's kind of like, you can't really afford to say, oh, he's got him. We better make sure. So we're going to, instead of that one guy reaching out for a leg or an arm or something trying to grab the dude, there's going to be 3 guys coming to hit you.
Right.
So it's a lot different. Team speed makes a big difference. Physicality makes a big difference. I think, experience makes a difference. I think the Seahawks are going to beat the Cowboys again.
Do you really? That's interesting.
I really do.
Excuse me. That's actually interesting. Like I've said, 50-50 games across the board this weekend. So I honestly and I truly believe that. Even Chicago, Philly, but we'll get to that. Here's the biggest thing to me about this game, meaning Cowboys Seahawks. Cowboys this year 7-1 at home. Seahawks on the road this year, 4-4. That matters to me when I think about how both these teams genuinely play up to those statistics. What I mean by that is, I really do feel like on the road the Cowboys are probably a 3-5 team. I honestly think that that's probably what they are. They're probably a little bit below 400 because they're not gangbusters, but at home they're better. They're just better. They're 7-1. They are very good. And I honestly think the same thing of the Seahawks at home in the clink, as Dan Hanzus calls it, which is CenturyLink Stadium. They're hard to beat. They were 6-2 this year, the Seahawks, but on the road they're 4-4 because they're an averagely talented roster, which is fine because they have a really good coach and a really good quarterback, and that can cover up a lot of holes. I've had that as a Patriot fan. I know that more than pretty much anybody. Because they've had a lot of, but it's not a great defense. It's not terrible defense, but it's not great defense in Seattle. I just don't know if they can go into Dallas and win this game. They've been playing well, sort of at the year, but like you said, they almost lost to Arizona. They just almost lost to Arizona. They just lost to the Niners on the road. I don't know, man. I just don't see it. I think Dallas wins this game. I genuinely think. And I honestly think that they're due for an Amari Cooper explosion too, because they haven't had one in 3 weeks. And
that's Amari though. That's what he do.
Well, I agree, but he had a couple games where he had 2 touchdowns per game for a couple weeks there in a row. So, and then
he did that for the Raiders too. 200 and something yards against the Chiefs.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. So,
smoked them.
So I feel. But
then he'll just get bored or distracted, or I don't know what his deal is, dude. He'll just. I don't know.
Right.
But that's what Amari do.
No, and I'm not arguing with you. I'm just saying I think he's kind of due, I think Dak, and I think, oh man, I think Dak is not as good as Russell Wilson. I don't even think that's really that close, honestly. But what I will say is I think he's close enough that the rosters overall matter in this game and who can make plays, and I think that the Cowboys have a better roster. So I think, I don't know, man. So I wanted to look real quick. If this game what does this game to you come down to? Does it come down to who can run the ball better? Because in my opinion, it kind of does.
No,
you don't think
not
so?
really. No, I think it's going to come down to a quarterback making a mistake.
See, but I don't really view either of these guys as that mistake prone. Like, I really don't. Not even Dak. Like, I don't view them as mistake prone. Like, and so obviously that could totally, you're right. Like, that could decide the game. But to me, I feel like both these teams are running teams overall, and I feel like the team that runs the ball better is going to win. That's just how I feel about this game. And I think, so I'm looking real quick. Defensively, the Cowboys are the 5th best run defense this year, and the Seahawks are the 13th best run defense.
Mm-hmm.
You flip that, and who do you think per game ran the most yards this year?
Oh, Dallas.
No, not even close. Dallas is top 10. Dallas is 10th. No, and it's not Baltimore. Baltimore's second. It's actually the Seahawks. The Seahawks had the best rushing attack this year.
Oh.
So, but again, going back to it, Dallas is the 5th best at stopping the run this year, and that's like pretty tough to do. So, if Dallas's defense holds up, I honestly think Dallas wins. I really do. I mean, obviously that's a pretty obvious statement, but I genuinely mean if they can stop the Seahawks rushing attack, I think they'll win. And I do expect them to, because if they're the 5th overall ranked rush defense, that's a pretty real number. Like, they usually won't get gashed, you know? So if you can contain Chris Carson and that's his name, right? Chris Carson? Yeah.
Yeah.
And Mike Davis, and who's the other guy that they use? Well, Russell Wilson also runs too. That's the other danger. But they use one more guy, don't they?
The Seahawks?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was looking at a stat for the Cowboys.
I can't remember.
The Seahawks pretty much have.
It's Chris Carson, Mike Davis, Russell Wilson, and there's one other guy. I know I'm blanking on his freaking name right now.
Rashad Penny.
Rashad Penny, there we go. So he's kind of in and out of there too. So, but yeah, I just think the Dallas defense at home, where they're 7-1 this year, they're gonna hold up. So, and then they'll have to go on the road the week after, and they're probably not gonna hold up. But that's just how it goes, you know. So,
I don't know. So here's my thing, right? When they played earlier, Prescott was 19 of 34 for 168 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 picks. Zeke ran for 127 yards.
Right. So here's
8 yard average, right?
So how many
Seahawks?
How many rushes? Well, just real quick, how many rushes? How many attempts did Zeke have?
16.
Yeah, not nearly enough, and that's what they'll fix, because they threw it way too many times. Like, you have to flip that. It needs to be 34 attempts for Zeke and 20 for Dak. Like, that's the formula at home to beat the Seahawks. Is you run over them. You know what I mean?
Well, okay. Newsflash though, the problem is that when you throw the 2 interceptions,
right,
and the other team has their running back runs 32 times for 102 yards, and 4 other guys run another 5 times. So if you never have the ball and you throw 2 interceptions.
No, I get what you're saying. My counter to that would be don't throw the interceptions and just run the ball. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah. Okay, that's great. That's a great theory.
Well,
and yet,
I hope that they're
all
telling
these
them
people.
that.
Huh?
I hope that they're telling them that, because I think it's a good theory too. And also, we should say like because I do think it matters, especially for these two teams. That game was in Seattle. That matters, because this game won't be.
Yeah.
And they're a different team on the road. They just are, man. It's there, you know?
Well, just so you know, the interception thing isn't the end-all, be-all of really anything, because Aaron Rodgers threw 4,500 yards, 25 touchdowns, 2 picks, and didn't win a damn thing.
Right. No. I'm not saying it is. I'm just saying the formula, I'm looking at the numbers now, too. The formula for them to win at home is play defense and not throw 34 times, but rush 34 times with Zeke, because 8 average is crazy. That's insane. But see, like, you know what I mean, though, right? Like,
well, the whole key is you can't get behind.
I agree, and I completely agree. And so, as long as you like we were saying, as long as you don't do the turnovers, you should be okay, because you should be at home and your defense should be playing up to their standards. And you know what I mean, like.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. I'm just saying that it's too hard of a thing to kind of pick because, I mean, you don't know what's going to happen. There's, you know, all it takes is one crazy thing to happen, and you get flipped upside down. The Titans went into Dallas and beat them. You know, I mean, the Titans don't beat anybody.
Right. They're terrible. No, I'm just kidding. But no.
Well, they are when their dudes are all hurt.
Right. But
Mariota played that game.
I get.
So I don't know.
I get what you're saying. But you know what I'm saying too. Like I know you know.
No, I do. Yeah. I get what you're saying. I'm just saying that everybody wants to run the football. The question is which coach is paying attention more to the scheme? Mm-hmm. Like, who do you trust more? Do you trust Pete Carroll more or Jason Garrett?
Oh, absolutely, Pete Carroll.
Who do you trust more, Rod Marinelli or Pete Carroll?
That's an interesting question because the way that Rod Marinelli has coached that defense this year, I would say probably Rod Marinelli because I don't know how much hands-on Carroll's got in game on the defense. So I would say I'd probably have to...
So I can answer that question for you. The defensive coordinator for the Seahawks is the same defensive coordinator the Raiders had. That'd be Ken Norton Jr., and he knows nothing about scheming defenses. Pete Carroll does all the defensive scheming.
Right.
And he just kind of, if something quirky comes up, he'll have Norton right next to him saying, "Hey, I need you to do this."
Right.
So anyways, I don't know. All these games are 50-50. I just think that I'd much rather have a team that's been to the Super Bowl twice in the last 5 years and, 3 times in the last 5 years and has been there, done that. They're solid defense all the way around. They may not all be superstars, Legion of Boom like they used to be, but they got a lot of really good dudes back there. And I don't know. I just think that, Bradley McDougall will come along and crack Cooper again, give him another concussion, and he's out, and they lose by 14.
Right.
But I could totally see Zeke running for 187 yards and Cooper catching 200 yards for 4 touchdowns. So I don't know, but I'm going with Seattle only because Dallas has had one playoff game in the stretch that Prescott and Elliott have been there, which I know has only been a couple years. But in just a couple more years, the Seahawks have been in 14.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I don't know. But so you are taking Seattle?
Oh yeah.
All right. Yeah, I'm taking Dallas. I think they've got the recipe for success there. But I wouldn't, like I said, wouldn't be surprised 50-50 game. So it's taken us 42 minutes by the way to do 2 games. Kind of crazy. Yeah, but that game will be fun too. So I
think they're all going to be crazy.
I hope so.
My greatest fear is that Indy's up by 27 at halftime.
Yeah, and then Seattle's up by 20.
Dallas is up by 24 at halftime.
And then the Chargers are up by 20, and then the Bears are up by 15, and it's like, God damn it.
Yeah. So, anyways, let's cruise to the next game. This will be an interesting choice.
Sunday, 1:05 p.m. Eastern. We've got the LA Superchargers at Baltimore to face Lamar Jackson and the Ravens. What do you think? This game just happened 2 weeks ago in LA, and the Ravens won 22-10. So this game is pretty fresh. It's a pretty excuse me. It's a pretty fresh rematch. So
I think the biggest problem the Chargers are going to have is you've got to devote somebody to watch Jackson.
Somebody disciplined.
Right. You've got to have somebody watch him. And if you don't, and see the thing about Ingram and Bosa is they're both kind of like just the guy should be there. I'm going to go really fast.
Yeah.
Right. They're speed rushers. They're not big JJ Watt, just shove a dude out of the way kind of rushers. They're speed rushers.
Right.
And I know Bosa's kind of a big dude, but he's not slow. His thing is quickness. Well, if you do that, you're going to start opening up running lanes, and then if you start bringing a linebacker up, then that's fine. We'll just drop it off to, insert random short guy here, going to run across the middle. Crabtree will go across the middle. I don't know, man. As much as I want, and this is funny coming from me because I'm a Raider fan, but as much as I want the Chargers to win this game,
yeah,
I don't think they're going to, only because it's in Baltimore. And if it was Joe Flacco, I would say Chargers all day because because Phillip Rivers will smoke Joe Flacco, and Joe Flacco's not going to run. Lamar Jackson's averaging 76 yards a game. That's never happened since 1970 merger. Never.
So let me just say, I don't know how long it's going to be sustainable what they're doing.
It won't be. It won't be. I guarantee you. If he keeps doing that, 3 or 4 years from now, he's gonna. He's gonna be hurt. He needs to be able to throw. Yeah, he needs to be able to throw from the pocket to be sustainable.
Awesome, and watching him is so much fun. And I just would like to say,
and that sustainability doesn't mean nothing for this year.
I agree, and I would. Hell no, it doesn't. I totally agree, and I would just like to say, the Patriots and Bill Simmons keeps talking about this too, because obviously he's a Patriots guy, and I felt the same thing as he did. The Patriots had 2 different chances to draft him, and we didn't, and I was pretty pissed. And I'm even more pissed because this would have been so much fun. He's so good. He's so good. I'm not sure how much of a really true good passer he is at the NFL level yet because we haven't seen it that much. But just what he's doing is just so much fun, man. It's so much fun. He's awesome. That being said, I actually go the other way with what you said. I think the thing to do if I'm defensively scheming for this Ravens offense, this rushing attack, which was second in the league this year, I go the other way. I actually kind of let him, not let him, but I make everybody else beat us. Anybody else. Meaning, if he's going to run, he's going to run. We try to stop him, obviously, because you never want to just let guys do whatever they want. But we're hitting Gus Edwards and Kenneth Dixon right at the backfield. Every time we're hitting those dudes. We're never letting them run on us. We are locking down, excuse me, whoever they're using as receivers. We're locking those dudes down. We're shutting this down. And the way that you beat us is you got to throw. And to make Lamar Jackson throw is to make him probably, in all likelihood, because he's thrown a few this year, throw a pick or, and that's what I think. I honestly think you have to stop the rushing attack, but I don't know if you can stop him specifically from running the ball, but at some point he's going to have to throw it. He's just going to have to. And
well, you need to make him, and the problem is that nobody's been able to make him.
Right. And that's totally fair. I agree with that, but at the same time, I honestly think, and let me see real quick here. So let's look. Defensive rushing statistics this year, Chargers were 9th best at stopping the run. So they've been able to do it, better than however many other teams. They were good this year. So and the Chargers, make no mistake about it, they do have a good defense. So I feel like it's possible. And I also want to see how many yards. Let's just see. Against the Ravens, let's see. Yeah, see, that's not bad. Lamar Jackson against the Chargers a couple weeks ago, he had 13 carries for 39 yards. It was 3-yard average. So that's not bad. But the problem was Gus Edwards, 14 for 92, which is 6.5.
Well, and here's the other problem if you take a look at that game. So Lamar Jackson, you know how when you look at what happened in the game and whatnot, you can see the player that was the leader for whichever random game for passing, receiving, and rushing.
Right.
So when they played the Chargers, Lamar Jackson was the leading passer for 200 yards.
Right, and yeah, because Phillip Rivers, he threw 37 times, but he only completed 23 passes. He was 0 for touchdowns and 2 picks, and he only, like you said, only 181 yards. But here's the thing: they could never get the ball rolling, running it. And I don't know if you watched that game, but I did because it was a Saturday night game, and I was actually kind of excited for it. So I watched it. That game was weird from the very get-go because the very first play, Rivers went deep and threw a pick. And it was a weird play too. The receiver and him weren't even on the same page. So it was a weird game. It was not indicative of what I think of what that Chargers offense is capable of personally. And that's what I'm saying. So if the Chargers can just, actually score and just play like how they've mostly played this year on offense, 22 attempts and only 12 completions from Lamar Jackson for 204 yards is not going to be enough. It's just not. Even if he runs for 100 yards or 40 or whatever he's going to do. Like, that's the main thing.
I don't know, man.
It's just, I know it's going to be tough, and it's going to be hard too because it's going to be on the road. It's going to be cold, probably going to be rainy because it's Baltimore.
No, it's going to be partly cloudy and 51, but it's the number. Okay, so the Chargers are the 12th or the 11th ranked offense.
Right.
The Ravens are 9th.
Right.
The Chargers are the 9th ranked defense. The Ravens are number 1.
Yeah. It's going to be,
and they're the Chargers are 15th ranked rushing, and the Ravens are 2.
Yeah. It's going to be hard, man. I'm telling you, like,
I got the Ravens on this one, bro.
Yeah. So let me ask you this, by the way, just because I'm curious. If the game were in LA, would you still have Baltimore though?
Yeah.
Okay. So you honestly think Baltimore's just
there's
a better
no Chargers.
Team.
There's no Yeah. Well, that's where they beat them 2 weeks ago. Was in LA.
Right.
There's no Charger fans in LA.
I agree with all that. I just wanted to be sure that you actually, because like sometimes if the game's really close, like. And I don't blame you for it, but you'll because I do it too, and I've said it in the past 100 times.
Well, the home team always gets 3 points.
Right.
So if it's a 50-50 game, I generally give it. That's the last 2 games that we picked prior to this, I've picked the visiting team.
Right. And I picked
and it's because I think they've got a significantly better shot at winning than the home team.
Yeah.
This one, I think the home team has a significantly better shot at winning, even though I wish the visiting team would win. I would love to see Rivers get a ring, because then maybe he'd retire and I wouldn't have to face him anymore.
That's funny.
I love Phillip Rivers. Dude,
he's awesome. I would love to see look. I don't want to lose in the playoffs, and I would like to go to the Super Bowl and win it as a Patriot fan. But if we lost to Phillip Rivers and he went on to win a Super Bowl, I would be stoked. Like that would be so freaking awesome. I love Phillip Rivers, even though he's kind of a weird dude. He's awesome. But
well, he is from North Carolina, and there's a lot of hillbillies up there.
Yeah, and he's a kind of a Jesus freak too. But he's cool. He's a cool dude. But here's the thing, just real quick. And Chris Wessling, I think, on the Around the NFL podcast this week on their Wildcard preview actually talked about this. Baltimore might have like the slowest safety duo in the league with Tony Jefferson and Eric Weddle. So that's how you attack that defense is deep. And I honestly think the Chargers saw that on film, and that's why they went deep as much as they did for as long as they tried to early on in that game 2 weeks ago.
And how'd that work out for them?
It didn't. But the thing is, I honestly think there's something there. And even Baker kind of was tearing up the safeties a little bit last week when he was trying to get the Steelers into the playoffs, I guess. I don't know. Probably not really, but you know what I mean. Week 17, it was a do or die. But I don't know, man. I just think if they can protect Phillip Rivers at all, and he just doesn't turn the ball over, I think they've got a good shot. And I'm taking the Chargers on the road here.
Well, that's the rule of football. Next game. If you don't have turnovers, but that's okay, whatever. By the way, I retract my statement. He's not from North Carolina. He went to North Carolina State. He's actually from Decatur, Alabama, by the ocean. And those people are just as strange.
Just as strange. Wait, Phillip Rivers is from Alabama?
Yeah, Decatur.
I thought he was. Oh yeah, I actually thought he was from North Carolina.
Nope. I know he played at NC State, and I'm like, well, if he played at NC State, that meant he probably wasn't highly ranked coming out of high school, which meant he probably played for an in-state school. So I just assumed, what assumed means, makes an ass out of you and me. No, he's from Decatur, Alabama. But no, Phillip Rivers, I would love to see the guy win a Super Bowl. He's been every single year with all the, I always say the Chargers going to charge thing and people getting hurt and blah, 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 blah. And I'm telling you what, man, if they make it through this week and maybe make it through next week, there's going to be some trouble because Hunter Henry's going to be coming back.
Well, I'll tell you right now, if they make it through this week, I'm telling you already right now, if the Chargers win this game, they're winning next week in Kansas City. Mark that crap because I'm booking it. I promise you they're going to win that game.
All right.
But
Philly at Chicago,
Sunday, 4:40 Eastern. Big Dick Nick.
Check your local listings.
I hate that they've called him that. I hate it. It's so funny and so wrong on so many levels. But the dude kind of earned it, honestly.
All he does is win.
It is so crazy. Okay, let's do this. He can't beat basically the best defense in the NFC, and arguably the best defense in football on the road. Can he? Can he do that? You think he can do that?
Yeah.
Who are you picking in this game?
Eagles.
What? Are you really?
Yeah.
Really?
You want to know why?
Yeah, because that's interesting. It's
Because
not crazy.
They beat the Texans, they beat the Redskins, they beat the Rams. They should have beat the Cowboys. They got ripped off. They beat the Giants. They beat the Eagles. They got smoked by the Saints. But the last month and a half, or the last month and a half, they've lost one game, and that game they shouldn't have lost. That was kind of a screwy game. But they beat the Texans already. They beat the Rams already. I mean, you telling me the Rams aren't a great defense in the NFC?
No. They're not a great defense. They're a good offense, but the Rams' defense this year has not been good. I don't think at all. Which has been actually probably the reason why the Rams, I think, going into the playoffs, are actually kind of like a team that no one's really considering, because that defense isn't what it's supposed to be. So no, I don't think the Rams is a good defense this year. I wouldn't fear the Rams' defense if the Patriots were going to play in the Super Bowl. I feel like, okay, they've got a lot of good players, but we can beat them. We just have to stop Gurley and try to cover all their good offensive players. And if we do that, I actually think we'd beat the Rams. Like, I don't, that defense isn't scary to me at all. Which I know that's kind of weird, because I know you're quiet because it's got Ndamukong Suh and Aaron Donald and like Aqib Talib, Marcus Peters, but at a certain point, they're just names. They got to play well, and they all have to do it at the same time to be a dominant defense, and they really didn't at all this year. Not like consistently. They really didn't. I'm just saying the Rams' defense does not scare me. Does it scare you? I'm more scared of the Cowboys' defense by far than I am the Rams' defense. And it's not even close. I'm probably more scared... No, I'm not going to say something crazy. But like, I'm just not... I don't fear that defense at all.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't pay a whole lot of attention to the Rams and whatnot. But like, if we, what do you think is a determining factor for like defense? Like points they give up, or yards they give up, or
I would say it's both. I would say, obviously, I mean, it's pretty obvious, but a big part of defense to me is just eye test too. And I know that's not calculable, and it's like, okay, well, that's just an out, and I get that, but. And I also should say, because I said this in the pod, because it was brought up on the Twitter sphere and stuff earlier in the year, I should say that Marcus Peters got toasted a lot this year, but he was playing out of position for a long time while he was getting toasted, because he was being asked to do things that Aqib Talib should have been doing, but Aqib Talib was hurt. So I'm like, there was a reason why I don't think they were as good this year as they could have been defensively, but it doesn't change the fact that they weren't as good as they could have been, and I genuinely believe that.
I don't know, man. I'm just saying that the Eagles have been beating folks.
The Eagles
and the thing is, here's the problem, right? The problem is this. Everybody in Philadelphia has great confidence in Nick Foles.
Right.
Right.
This is the team of this weekend, other than Baltimore. In Baltimore, this is the team nobody wants to play, because the scariest thing you can do is play a team that has A, nothing to lose, and B, way too much confidence, or at least what you deem what you perceive to be too much confidence, because that's what they had last year. And what happened? They beat everybody's ass and won the Super Bowl, and they can do it again because they believe in that guy. That's what you don't want to play, is the team with that confidence.
Yeah, they. I wouldn't want to play him, and if Chicago gets behind, I have zero confidence in Mitch Trubisky leading me back against the Eagles defense.
See, but the Eagles
zero confidence.
See, but the Eagles defense wasn't that great this year either. And here's the thing too, right? I'm looking at the last 10 games the Bears played this year. They lost one. It was on the road to a Giants team who at the end of the year got hot and got frisky, and they only lost by 3. But like, here's what I'm saying. But I'm just saying, dude. Vikings 10 points, Niners 9 points. Those were both on the road. Packers 17 points. Rams in Chicago 6 points. The Rams scored 6 points against this defense, dude. And I'm not sure they had Gurley for that game. I don't honestly remember. But either way, Rams 6 points. That's crazy. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, this defense is the real deal. And at home, they're whooping everybody's ass because, except for New England, shout out to the Patriots, because they're genuinely a good team. Like, and I honestly, if he just doesn't throw picks, I actually kind of think Trubisky can lead a team back, because he's making throws, and he's honestly he's kind of like Lamar Jackson. He's dangerous in the pocket because he can run and he's fast and he's hard to tackle when he's running because the dude's a good runner. Like he doesn't get enough credit for running the way he does, but I'm just saying, and also teams should watch out because A, my boy Tariq Cohen is out here, and B, the guy who was crap for me most of the year in fantasy, excuse me, Jordan Howard, is starting to look like what we thought Jordan Howard was last year. And if he's coming on, that's a problem. Because if they can actually really run the ball, there's no stopping that team. There just isn't, I don't think. They can run it all the way. Chicago can. So, it's funny. This is actually, that's not true. I took Dallas at home too. But I'm taking Chicago at home. I just don't think Philly's been tested this way yet. And all year they weren't really that good of a team until Nick Foles came in anyway. They really weren't. They truthfully weren't. And they were about to miss the playoffs, and Nick Foles saved it again. But he didn't play a defense like this last year in the playoffs. And he played what we thought was a defense like this last year in Minnesota, and he torched them. And it came out this year that with the same players that they really weren't that great of a defense, or at least they weren't playing like it in Minnesota. But Chicago's playing like it. And it's going to be in Chicago, and it's going to be tough. And I just don't think Philly's defense, who wasn't really that great this year anyway, is going to be able to... Because they're the ones that are probably going to have to win that game, honestly. I don't think Nick Foles is going to personally be willing this team to a win against the best defense in football. You know what I mean? I just don't see it.
Well, they're not the best defense in football.
Okay, that's fair, but they are the best team. They are like I said, they are the best defense in the NFC. Because the two best defenses are the Ravens and the Bills, but they're obviously a different conference. So, but they're the best defense by far. In the NFC, because I don't see a better defense at all in the NFC, like clear cut. I don't see one.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
So tell me what the game plan is for Philly to win this game. What does Philly do because you're picking Philly, so you got to know something. How do they win this game?
Get up by 10 points.
No, but okay, all right.
Well, I mean, seriously, that's all it takes. And whether that's a turnover, whether that's... I mean, we're talking Mitch Trubisky here, right?
Yeah, okay. Dude, Mitch Trubisky, you're acting like he's going to have to come back from, like you said, but he hasn't really had to all year. And yeah, when he's, that's the thing, he hasn't had to do a lot. They just waxed Minnesota in Minnesota, and he threw 163 yards, 69 completion percentage, and had an 85.9 rating. But he didn't have to do anything, dude. They beat the Rams 15-6 in Chicago. He had 3 picks and a 33.3 rating. That's what I'm saying. He can have bad games, and they can still clearly win games. They don't need an offense. That's how good this defense is in Chicago.
I'm just telling you, watch out, man.
Okay.
Watch out for BDN, man. I'm telling you.
I lost Super Bowl to him. I know more than you do.
I'm telling you.
I know.
I'm just telling you that if I've got to pick a team, if I got to pick between a team, well, Eddie Jackson, he's hurt, probably ain't going to play.
Okay.
So that's a big deal.
Oh, yeah, it is a big deal, but are we sure he's actually not going to play?
Yeah, we're 98% sure. Let's look at what the thing says.
Well, it says, as of today, as of actually 36 minutes ago, I can't count, 26 minutes ago, Bears hope to have Eddie Jackson. He's a game-time decision. So,
yeah. and playing in Chicago on that shitty-ass field, one slip, boop, ankle gone again.
No, I agree.
He done. So
he's
just
probably
saying,
going to give it a go, but
if I've got to put all my eggs in a basket, and I've got a choice between Mitch Trubisky and Chicago's defense, or Nick Foles and Philly's defense, I'm taking the Eagles.
I
know.
I got to tell you something.
It's crazy.
Well, real quick, okay?
It's crazy.
Real quick, all right?
Mm-hmm.
yards per game defensively this year. Philly, 23rd. So below league average. Rushing yards allowed per game. Philly was 7th. So they only allowed 96.9. So that's good. But here's the thing. 100 yards rushing, if not more, if they allow their average, And then on top of that, the extra yards that they were allowing through the air. I'm just saying, man, that combined...
I'm just saying Mitch Trubisky ain't going to be throwing nothing in the air.
Well, you say that, but I'm not sure Nick Foles will be either, because that defense is shutting mother effers down.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. But so
you're taking the Bears, I take it.
Oh, absolutely. They're not. The only way the Bears lose is an NFC Championship game to New Orleans because it'll be on the road. That's the only way Bears don't make the Super Bowl. No, seriously, I really do believe that. I think the Bears are that good. You really don't believe in Trubisky at all, huh?
Not at all. Not a bit.
Wow. Okay. A Trubisky truther.
No, the thing is he could totally throw 4 touchdowns, and he could throw 4 interceptions.
I agree, but so could basically everybody in the playoffs at this point. So.
No, there's no way Andrew Luck's throwing 4 picks. There's no way that Deshaun Watson's going to throw 4 picks. Russell Wilson.
Andrew Luck can come to New England and throw 4 picks because he's done it before in the playoffs.
Yeah, okay, I know. I've seen Tom Brady throw 5 in a game, so let's not even talk about that. I'm just talking about, in generally speaking, if you look at all the quarterbacks that are left in the playoffs right now, and I had to pick the quarterback that I trusted the least by far, it's not even close. It's Trubisky. The second one would be Foles. I trust everybody else. Well, and maybe Jackson but he doesn't throw the ball, so we don't really know. Luck ain't throwing picks. Watson ain't throwing picks. Prescott ain't throwing picks. Wilson, nope. Rivers, nope. Mahomes, nope. Goff, nope. Brady, nope. Breeze, nope. All those guys are guys that have gotten a body of work that shows me that they're more likely to throw touchdowns than interceptions. Except for Jackson. Well, Foles is not terrible, but Foles had a stretch where he was not good for a few years. But, maybe it was scheme. Maybe, who knows what that whole thing was. But
by the way, I just want to say Tom Brady has never thrown 5 interceptions in a game in his career. But Peyton Manning has thrown 6. Eli Manning has also thrown 5.
Okay.
I just wanted to say. But I get what you're saying. I think it'll be interesting, though, because we'll have a definitive answer on Sunday of can Trubisky not hurt his team, which you think he will, and I think he won't, right? That's the fundamental difference in our opinions.
No,
right?
I don't know. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying he's going to hurt his team. What I'm saying is that if I'm down by 10 and it's the start of the fourth quarter, Mitch Trubisky is not the fool that I want in charge of me getting my 10-point deficit taken up.
Well, see, I would never argue that point with you. I just think
that's my point. You asked me what do the Eagles need to win, and I said get up by 10.
Right. Okay. So I get you. That's fair. My stance is that scenario being likely in the first place isn't that likely in my opinion. So I'm not worried about that. That's where we differ is I don't feel like the Bears defense will allow them to be down by 10 points at all at any point in the game. That's why I'm picking them. You know what I mean? I just have that confidence in that defense. So I get what you're saying. I hear you. And I totally get, and I agree from the standpoint of if like what your scenario was, your example, if that were the case, there's no way in hell he's taking them back. I agree with that. But I just don't think that would ever be the situation. So that's my opinion. So, all right. We spent an hour and 9 minutes on 4 games, but I think we did a really good pod. How do you feel about it?
Tom Brady's thrown 13 pick sixes. That's a lot.
How many he's paid me? Shut up. Look, what are you doing over here? Yo, he's also played 19 years, okay? And he's won 5 Super Bowls. God damn it. That's a lot of pick sixes. That actually is a lot. But that's less than 1 a year. And if you consider how many games he's played, that's not that many. And also if you consider how many... What
are you looking up there, Sparky?
Yeah, I was gonna say we're both Googling pick sixes right now. I can tell. Where did you go for that? Because I can get interceptions. I I can't get pick sixes.
Pro Football Reference.
You just go to their page?
I just Googled pick sixes in a game. I Googled pick six leaders.
Oh. Okay, I got you. It's good that this is at the end of the pod where no one will hear it, because now we're just talking crap. But NFL QB pick six career leaders. Oh yeah, see, Drew Brees is throwing 27.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Drew Brees has thrown probably 17 times more passes too. That's all Drew Brees does is throw the friggin' ball.
Like, you mean total career attempts?
Yeah.
That's going to be something I have to look at real quick. He's only thrown the ball about 400-ish times more. And that actually would check out if you consider Brady missed an entire season other than like the first quarter of the Chiefs game in 2008. He would have had about 400 passes probably that year. So, no, that's actually a lot more. That's more than twice as many as Brady. So, Blake Bortles has as many career pick sixes as Tom Brady.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. So, all right. Well, Matt Ryan's up there too because he sucks too. Eli's up there. So, Peyton Manning is 27 also with Drew Brees. So, but that doesn't. But I think pick six is a bad stat too because, I mean, yeah, he throws the interception, but also nobody on his team, including him, yes, tackles the guy too. Like that's rough. So that's kind of a weird stat to go off of, in my opinion. But yeah, so there's an extra 3 minutes for people who wanted to hear us Google and talk about pick sixes for career quarterbacks for just random stats. Real quick before we go, who do you have making the Super Bowl, AFC and NFC? If you had to guess right now, who's going? I'm going. This is weird. I'm going New England. No, because I think there's a path. When I'll break it down, but I'm going New England.
There's a path for everything.
I'm going New England, LA Rams.
Nah, it's gonna be the Chiefs and the Saints.
It probably will be the Chiefs and the Saints. So, but here's my thing.
Their arms. Well, the Chiefs only because they're playing at home. If it's not the Chiefs, it'll be the Eagles, or not the Eagles. The Patriots.
The Patriots. Oh, so you do okay. Well, here's my thing.
But I don't think the Patriots are even going to get by the Ravens.
Yeah, but see, here's the thing, right? Here's the thing. Here is the thing, my friend.
And if it's not the Saints, then it'll be the Eagles.
The Eagles, Jesus.
I'm telling you, I'm riding the fuckers till they die.
Well, I gotta bleep that out, even though I'm not going to. It's an hour 13 in. Who cares? Fuck it. But here's the path, right? Colts go and win. That means that the Colts would go play the Chiefs. The Colts beat the Chiefs, and the Colts go to New England. And
Colts ain't beating the Chiefs.
I think the Colts, if they played them, I think they would. I actually do. So
I don't. Tyreek Hill will light them up because they don't have anybody fast enough in the Colts back end to keep up with them. It'll just be Mahomes drop back, run around in a few circles, and hurl the ball, and Tyreek Hill run underneath.
Not if Darius Leonard's putting him on his ass the whole night. So
you can't catch him.
Yeah. Well. All right. Well, this was a good pod. I'm gonna go edit it and put it up line. So good talk.
Yeah, it's gonna be.
It's gonna be fun, man. It's gonna
be wild. I seriously. I mean, any game has a potential to be a blowout.
Yeah,
but
blowouts.
Looking at the games, you got a 10-6 and 11-5, a 10-6 and 10-6, a 12-4 and 10-6, and the 12-4 is visiting, right?
Right.
And then you got a 9-7 and 12-4, but the 9-7's been magical for the last month.
Yeah. He's got the football gods on his side, Nick Foles. So yeah, it's gonna be awesome. I can't wait. There's not one bad game, or there's not one game where I honestly, genuinely think I know, like, for sure who's gonna win. Like
I have no idea.
I don't have any idea either. I really I'm pick all the picks that I made. For the most part, I'm pretty confident. But like Philly can absolutely beat Chicago. So like I'm not like, oh, that game's over. Like it's gotta be.
All the picks I made were based on the fact that the team that's going in there has experience in being in that environment where that game is the only game that ever matters for the rest of your life.
Right.
So I picked all the teams with a lot more playoff experience.
Yeah.
And have been battle tested versus other teams. Like the Bears, they ain't been in the playoffs.
Right.
Especially Trubisky and all that shit.
Well, Matt Nagy's never coached a playoff game before like that either, like as a head coach. So like
exactly.
It goes all the way up.
What's the other one? Seattle over Dallas. Seattle's got 1 million playoff games they've played.
Yeah, no, I agree.
The Colts, I just genuinely think are better than the Texans. I think they just got off to a slower start, and so
I agree.
That's kind of how they ended up. And then what's the other game? Oh, the Ravens and the Chargers. The Ravens defense wins championships, bro.
I agree.
That's all it is.
Hey, real quick.
But you can't account for Jackson. What?
No, I agree with you. Everything you said, I think, is wise, and I genuinely agree. We're gonna head off now, but I just want to say real quick. I think it's funny when the teams post that they've completed their interview with the head coach candidate. I think that's funny.
Yeah.
I just think I just like we have completed our interview. Like, okay, did you hire him or not? Just tell us that, and then we can go. We don't need to know all the other crap. So I just think that's funny. So, thanks to everyone who listened all year. We've had fun. We're sorry we missed 3 different weeks. But shit happens. I'm having fun doing this pod. I don't even know if anyone's listening, but this is fun. Yeah, here's to more correct picks for me, hopefully, throughout the year.
And see, if you look at all these, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 people that are picking games, right?
Where?
It's on PFT, but it's a bunch of different people picking them. They're just showing the picks, and they're all topsy-turvy. Texans over Colts, Colts over Texans, Ravens over Chargers, Seahawks over Cowboys, Cowboys over Seahawks, Bears over Eagles, Eagles over... It's crazy. Nobody knows. Yeah, nobody knows. It's going to be crazy.
They're so even. Like, all games are super, super even, or they've got something weird going on with them. Like, maybe the Chargers have a much better roster than the Ravens, but it's in Baltimore, and the Ravens have been hot as hell. So, like, that's a tough game. And, like, same thing with the Bears, but... Like you said, that the Eagles might be another team of destiny again. Like, just weird shit.
Yep.
So. All
right.
Yep. It's a good one. So we will be back next week to talk divisional matchups. Go Colts and Texans. I don't know who I want to win, genuinely. I would rather play the Texans, but I would rather see the Colts go.
I just really want Seattle and Philly to win.
Just no blowouts. That's what I want.
I don't care. I don't even care about that. I want Seattle and I want Philly to win because that means the Raiders get the 21st and 22nd pick.
Oh God! Shut up! Oh my God!
Oh no, it'd be the 21st and 24th because it's the first game and the last. Oh no!
All right, I've got to edit this pod, so we have got to go.
Yeah, toodles.
Toodles.